Okay, hi everyone. As we're streaming live, so I think like I said, we're starting sharp at 4:30. Hi, my name is Julius Gragrauskas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cloudwiser. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm really glad to see all of you gather here. We're official AWS partner in the Baltic states, and it's our first event with AWS, and we're very happy to see that there's people gathering here live. Both we have a lot of people watching the stream online. Hopefully more would come, because yeah, there's still plenty of room and plenty of coffee and croissants. From our side today, the agenda is that we will have two speakers from the local community, two technology experts that will speak and share their experience on blockchain and how to run it efficiently on AWS. And we'll also have two people from AWS, solution architects, Julian and Michael, who will introduce two of new blockchain-specific AWS services. And actually, well, I think all of those presentations should be very, very interesting to hear. And the thing that I would like to stress a lot is that, you know, this event is not only about the presentations. It's a lot about the discussions after the presentations and behind it. So please be active. Ask hard questions, contradict, share your opinion, because yeah, I think all of you agree that it's a big part of the value that we could get, all of us, from these few hours that we spend together. So first of all, before the presentations, I'm very glad that Matteo, the AWS territory manager for Baltic states and Finland, is here, and Matteo, please,
yeah.
The floor is yours.
So thank you guys for being here today. I mean, now there is a bit of sun, so maybe you want to go outside, but just a rapid question talking with you. How many of you here are developers, or how many of you are working more in a business part? And how many of you are doing everything in the company, because maybe you have a startup? Perfect. Yeah, I see you have a lot of computers here. So my name is Italian, so as you can see, I cannot speak Lithuanian, Estonian, Finnish, or Latvian, or anyway Russian. And what is very important for me is that if you want to get in contact with us, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm the territory manager for this area, and this area has a lot of potential. We have a lot of companies, from small to big, that are really using our technology to disrupt. So for us, it's not really important what framework you use, what product you use, if you prefer using a blockchain or if you have an IoT company. What's the most important thing for us is that you can start trying and use our platform, and you can be the builders of the future for us. And I leave the word to our first speaker, because we are all here for that, not for me. And enjoy the show.
Yeah. While Lukas just joins, a few words about him. I think a lot of you know him because he's quite known in the blockchain community here in Lithuania and the Baltics, and I would even say globally already. He is the participant of a number of successful blockchain projects, and he is co-founder and CTO of Cryptodus, a company that is doing a lot of consulting, auditing, and all kinds of projects directed on smart contracts and blockchain. So please give some applause for Lukas to feel more confident and joyful. And Lukas.
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Lukas, and today I would like to talk about the blockchain use cases and how we work with the blockchain, how we utilize AWS and build solutions for our customers. So briefly about our company, I'm actually the CTO, so leading the technical part there, writing code myself and setting up architectures myself. So our company worked with projects that raised over $100 million during the ICO rush. So in 2017 we helped companies to work with and start the ICOs. However, in 2018 and this year we started working more on the MVP POC side and develop solutions for various startups, new companies to utilize the blockchain power. Let's see. We are certified by IBM Hyperledger. We are certified NEM developers, and we are now in progress on the Amazon Web Services certification in the blockchain area. So yeah, let's start. A quick overview of where we are now. So the Gartner Blockchain Spectrum was released this year. The idea is that in 2010 until now, what we are seeing that it is enabling technologies that are being built now, starting from some peer-to-peer data exchange, various cryptography techniques, networking, and so on, so that it would enable later on to develop real blockchain applications. What we can see what we saw actually in 2016, that many new projects started appearing, pitching the idea that blockchain would revolutionize the business and bring some new areas to improve. But what it really was actually, and it is still now, that usually companies replicate the data from their existing central systems and try to replicate it on the blockchain and just trying out and trying to extract value of it. In 2020, we should see complete solutions. So what it means that now in 2020, we should start seeing the real value, the assets on the blockchain. So for example, car representation, land registry on a blockchain that would actually work and that would enable real smart contracts. So for example, I would like to sell my flat, for instance. I could then create a smart contract that would distribute actually the stable euro or stable money between the broker, me, and let's say the tax IRS, International Tax Service. So then the smart contracts would really make sense. And in the later stages in 2025 and somewhere we should see like enhanced solutions when everything becomes decentralized and there will be no central companies and then only decentralized solutions would work. But of course that's maybe not what we will not see in the near future. So proof of concepts, that's the key thing at the moment. Most of the companies are working. And what we've seen from our customers, that at the moment, big companies like Facebook, Google, we are now experimenting with the blockchain. We are deploying their own teams who are developing various initiatives. However, there are also new startups that are trying to revolutionize the industry. So we are building new products and trying to develop new custom solutions. But when you think about the small and medium businesses, we are not experimenting at the moment, most of them, and we are just simply looking at the industry, what is happening, what the big guys can do. So we as a company focus most of our resources now at the moment working with new initiatives, new startups, new companies, funded companies who are launching new products. And I would like to give a quick overview of what are those projects. So first of all, it is LB Coin. It is still in the tender phase, but we helped the company, the Bank of Lithuania, to summarize the tender and develop the POC at the hackathon. So the idea is that Bank of Lithuania wants to issue a collector coin on the blockchain. So now you can simply go and buy the collector coin, a physical coin, and simply go and trade it in some physical location, for example. So their idea is to have a private chain where you could issue a coin, allow people to trade among each other in the private chain, which is controlled by the Bank of Lithuania. But the most interesting thing is that they are launching and they require the ability so that people would be able to transfer coin from private chain to the public chain. So what it means that you would have a bridge that would allow that, and in the public chain anyone could trade tokens between anyone, and it will be very interesting to see how it goes and what would happen, because then various bad actors can own the coins issued by the Bank of Lithuania and so on. So many interesting things happening on the Bank of Lithuania side. Now going to our actually projects that we implemented the proof of concept. So first of all, we worked with one customer where we developed proof of delivery POC, so basically a supply chain on an M blockchain. How it works? Currently, when we want to transfer goods, a very simple process is happening, like we have an exporter, importer, and the good is being transferred among certain parties. So we all do it is that once you want to deliver the package, send the package, the bill of lading is issued, the paper document that represents your ownership of that package. And then the shipping is happening, moving from different carriers to the shipping line and so on. You have to transfer this bill of lading to the receiver in some other way so that he could come to the sea line or to the carrier and present that he's now the owner of that product, good, package, right? So the process is not effective. It takes a lot of time to happen. And the idea of the blockchain is that you could have that representation, the certification of your ownership on the blockchain. So we decided to build with our customer the solution. Here's the architecture, but the idea from the business side is that you would have a representation of the parcel on the blockchain, and on each transfer from the sender to carrier, from the carrier to shipping line, from shipping line to carrier in the other country, you would need to have multi-signature confirmations. So for example, from the carrier to the shipping line, when you transfer the good, you need to have few signatures confirming that fact that it can be transferred. So for example, I'm transferring some parcel, carriers transferring parcel to the shipping line. So what we need to do, the logistics manager need to do the confirmation, sign the transaction, the shipping line must sign the transaction, and the carrier must initiate the transaction itself. And then the confirmation happens, and then the good can proceed and transfer further. What value does it bring is that you have a full trace of what happened at which point in time in the blockchain, and basically the parcel on each the supply chain part collects like certain badges, certifications that the confirmation happened, that happened, and so on. So we decided to build such architecture, so we used NEM blockchain, we had the dashboard, the API, stored the documents into the decentralized storage. And just for curiosity, this is like the POC design we had, a very simple one, so that the client could present it to others. The idea is that you have like order ID, address on NEM, the parcel mosaic, so basically then signed, who signed what at which point in time. Another use case we are working now at the moment is asset ownership tracking. So there is a big issue in the market that there are many fake products, and actually big companies face it a lot. So our customers from Switzerland decided to build a solution where a manufacturer could register his products like a serial number, certain parameters that it is authentic, and then you as a purchaser, as an end user, could simply go and check into the system that it is a true, not counterfeit product. The thing is that when you think about the asset ownership itself, you can then, their vision is to move it further in that way that I own the asset, I can transfer it to someone else and have a full trace of the ownership transfers. So for example, I'm buying an iPhone, used iPhone from some online market, right? I'm not able to check, is it really original? Is it coming from what was the trace and so on, between whom it was transferred, how many people use it and so on. So the idea is that you would have that on a blockchain and ability to check it. Now going to the technical details and to the AWS and how we utilize it. So as I mentioned, most of the companies now working with proof of concepts and MVPs. So this is the key parts that usually consist such projects. So basically we have a simple front end, we have a back end, we have a blockchain working underneath, and one thing I excluded is secure key management and made it, let's say, like a separate part, because for most of the blockchain applications and projects it is pretty hard to solve this issue. Because on the blockchain, to initiate something, you need to have an address, a private key, right? And not sure how many of you are familiar with public networks like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and so on. Usually you own the private key, and the project owners wants that you would take that responsibility. However, when you think about the business side and the enterprises, they do not want to put such pressure on the users. So we as developers of such solutions need to think about where to store the private keys securely. So I will show you later on how the AWS helps to do that as well. So key challenges for each of those bubbles and how does AWS helps to solve us. So setup speed is the key thing why we decided to work with AWS. Because you can very fast launch a website, very fast deploy a server, or simply even launch a blockchain solution. So speaking about the front end, the stack we usually use is Amazon S3. So as our front-end applications are simple, kind of HTML, CSS, JavaScript files, we prefer to store it on an S3 bucket. And S3 bucket has a very good option to set up a hosting, and we at Amazon CloudFront, you can distribute the web page. Basically, you do not need then some server. And everything can be stored there in Amazon S3. The thing is, for example, once we had one big ICO I was a part of, we decided and we expected a huge load on the ICO day that people will start going into the website, wanting to invest and so on. So we decided to use S3 CloudFront, and even on top an extra anti-DDoS provider. And that architecture handled the load pretty well, because in parallel in that web page we had also a one simple API call just to show people in the website how much money is raised, right? And we put that small PHP script on a separate server, and it broken down the first minute of the ICO launch. But the web page itself was serving perfectly well, because all there was a static files, and S3 and CloudFront CDN did a pretty good job. When we think about the backend, so nothing special. We use Amazon EC2 instances, so it is like a very simple way to deploy a virtual machine. So with a few clicks of the button, you select the operating system and you can deploy it, and increase the storage, decrease the storage, and so on. So this is working very well for most of our customers. When you connect those two, like front end with the S3 and the EC2 instance in the back end, we usually set up automated deployment. The process is pretty simple. as you are already in the AWS infrastructure, you can of course use like external tool like CodeJenkins or something to set up your automated deployment, but AWS offers you a built-in, let's say, solution that you can set up a trigger, for instance, on your GitHub repository. When the new code comes, the commit is coming to, for instance, master branch. You can AWS picks that new commit, compiles the code, deploys it to the EC2 instance or to Amazon S3, then clears the cache of the CloudFront, and so on. And you have a very seamless deployment flow that you can start working with. And the best thing is that the setup is pretty fast and it does not require a lot of efforts to have. And then developers usually love that thing because on each commit everything goes, for example, into the test environment and is working pretty well. When we think about the secure key management, as I mentioned, there is a main question where to store private keys. So secure key management usually is approached in several ways. Probably the first thing you would consider is like simply storing private keys in the database, right? As a parameter next to the user. But the issue is that once the database is hacked or certain let's say your employee could take those private keys, and then you own the private keys, you can basically do anything you want with that user, with that account, and transfer assets of it. So that is usually not an option, and probably very few projects do that. So you need to think for a more unique solution. So AWS provides a key management store. The way it works, the KMS, the way it works, it's simply you can have the key stored there. They usually do not leave the outer world, let's say. They are stored securely in the hardware device stored and managed by AWS. And the benefits you get using this solution is that it stores all the history when the keys were accessed, by whom. You can set up alerts, for example, when like certain threshold of access of the keys is requested. You can set up alerts. Also, KMS performs encryption operations by itself, so that's why to encrypt or decrypt something, you do not need to take these keys to your application. Then there is a private chains, so yeah, we will have more presentations on that, but the idea is that very simply with also few clicks of a button, you can select the blockchain, either Hyperledger or Ethereum, deploy. You would get all the structure needed, all the security groups set up in place, nodes running, for instance, Hyperledger. And with even the managed blockchain that is now approaching, we are also testing it. You can even have a very simple interface for adding new peers, managing, removing peers, and so on, and modifying certain parameters. Of course, it comes at a certain cost, but usually when you want to start fast, such cost is not a problem. And public nodes, we usually also use if the project needs some interaction with the public network. We deploy the public node on the EC2 instance, and it handles it pretty well. So you have a light node, for instance, Ethereum or Bitcoin, where you sync the data, get all the access to the transactions. And for example, for one of our projects, the analysis tool we were developing, we were running their Ethereum node, full node, which was syncing all the data. Then we had an extra service that was putting that data to the Amazon S3, and then further data processing flow was happening. But the idea is that very simply you can store all the files in the S3 for further analysis if you need that. So it's all about fast learning. Most of the, there are many different people in the community that are telling that private blockchain does not make sense or public blockchain does not make sense and everything will go one day or the other. But what we are seeing from our customers that currently enterprises, they want to just experiment and do that in a safe way. So private chains are working perfectly well, and they are doing it in the customers do it in a certain iterations that we start by simply launching a private network, testing it, trying to feel what's the value of the blockchain and so on, learn, adopt, and then, for instance, we launch, add certain new organizations to the network. So we add their business partners, few business partners, then we do another iteration. And maybe we will see that now it makes sense to have like a consortium network with only few known parties in the blockchain, and later on we will migrate this iteration to the public networks. We will see, nobody knows. And to end up my talk, actually, to do that, AWS helps perfectly well, and we can do that very fast and iterate fast and learn fast. Thank you.
Lukas, don't run away. Now it's like the best part. Time to shoot some questions. Who will be the first?
Thanks for the presentation. So once again, I would like to reiterate about asset management, not management, ownership question and the business application of that. So in a similar way that we have to register our cars in the public authority registry, and this public authority always tracks who is the owner of the specific car. In a similar way, your customers want to establish a blockchain authority who would track who is the owner of that asset.
Yeah, but maybe they are focusing not on the such a big assets like cars or lands or something. They're focusing on those businesses. So we are trying to launch their private network. At first, we onboard one perfume company that would start putting it. They will be running their own node. Then we have a few new customers coming in who would also. So we are trying to build such ecosystem. Their manufacturers would run this network and maintain the database and put all the data inside into the blockchain.
Okay, thanks.
Somebody else? Okay, I have a question. You spoke a lot about the bright side of how nice it's for you to, especially to do POC on AWS. But yeah, we all know that things don't always go that well in technology part. And would you name some main challenges for running blockchain projects on public cloud and AWS in particular?
Yeah. So actually, you asked me to tell only good things, but okay, I will tell the reality. So actually, we were. And we are still developing our solution for cryptocurrency anti-money laundering analysis, blockchain analysis. And I had a few failures at the beginning. So for example, we needed to synchronize the full blockchain very fast. So it would require a lot of resources. So I launched 10 EC2 instances with the maximum capacity, and I realized after 2 days I received alerts that I burn 1,000 euros, something like that. So if you do not really calculate the resources you use, so basically with the cloud you need to plan very, very carefully. So AWS was very kind and they gave us 90% discount for this failure. But yeah, now we are also running our solution on AWS. And for example, the issue is that we are now having stable costs for storing huge amounts of data in the S3 bucket, processing it, and so on. So costs are pretty challenging here. Of course, it depends on your business, but you should always take care of it.
Also, one more question. As the next presentation will be about one of the managed blockchain services that AWS recently announced. Have you tried it, and what's your opinion? Do managed services is a good fit for blockchain? Are you planning to use them?
So what I tried to go through all the flow and see how it goes. So basically the process of setting it up is very user-friendly. You just simply like select the number of nodes, select different plans. Of course you have a cost which comes with that. And maybe for the MVP or the POC for some like new startups it might not be suitable, but from the startup point of view, when you want to quickly start it works perfectly well, but of course in the later stages I'm not sure if that would be the best option, and maybe setting up your own like infrastructure would be better.
I see. Okay, any more questions from the audience? Okay, so thank you very much, Lukas. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause.